The sun had just begun its slow descent behind the rust-red mesas of sagebrush. Valley, spilling gold across the dusty land when Clara May. Carson rode in hard from the north trail, her horse's flanks lathered and her jaw set tight with the kind of grit that made most men look twice before speaking. Clara was a cowgirl through and through, a woman born of the frontier, her hands rough from reins and her heart walled. High from years of loss and loneliness, she'd been breaking wild horses since she was 15 and burying her feelings since long before that. But nothing about that long day on the ranch had prepared her for what came next. A storm that rose out of nowhere, fierce and angry as if the desert itself wanted to test her spirit. The wind screamed, lifting dirt and whirlwinds, tearing at her hat and stinging her eyes, and she pushed on stubbornly even when the world ahead vanished into a choking haze. It wasn't until her horse stumbled in a gopher hole that she felt the sharp twist in her leg, the white-hot pain that made her vision blur. She bit down hard, refused to cry out, and somehow managed to limp the horse back toward town, her pride burning hotter than the wound itself. When she finally reached the edge of Dust Creek, the small frontier town looked ghostly through the fading light. Lamps flickered on in the windows of the saloon and general store, casting warm glows into the twilight, and the scent of wood smoke mixed with the coming rain. Clara barely made it to the hitching post before she slid off the saddle, landing hard on her bad leg. A curse left her lips, but she still tried to walk, chin high, ignoring the sharp sting that made her teeth clench. She didn't want help, didn't trust it, and sure as hell didn't want to show weakness in a town that already thought her too wild, too untamed, too much for polite company. But fate, as it often does, had other plans waiting for her inside the dim glow of the doctor's office. Dr. Elias Grant was a man shaped by silence and compassion, with eyes that had seen war wounds and heartbreak long before he'd ever come to Dust Creek. His hair was dark, his voice steady, his hands steady even when the world wasn't. Folks said he'd been a field surgeon back east before the war took too much from him, before he packed his saddlebags and rode west to find peace among the lost and the broken. He'd found a kind of quiet rhythm here, tending to gunshot wounds, delivering babies, stitching up ranch hands who'd picked the wrong end of a bar fight until the evening, the town's wildest. Cowgirl limped through his door. She tried to brush past him with her usual stubborn charm, muttering something about just a scratch, but he caught sight of the swelling beneath her trousers and the way her breath hitched each time she shifted weight. "You're not walking that off," he said evenly, his voice calm but firm. "Sit down before you fall down." Clara glared at him, jaw set like stone, and for a moment it was a standoff and her pride against his patience. But something in his tone, that quiet authority that came not from arrogance but from care, made her relent. She sank onto the examination table with a hiss of breath, muttering that she didn't need fussing over. He didn't argue. He simply rolled up his sleeves and began to work, cutting the fabric away carefully, revealing the angry bruising and swelling beneath. His hands were gentle but sure, his brow furrowed with focus as he cleaned the wound. The air between them grew thick, with the scent of antiseptic and tension, not the kind born of irritation, but something unspoken and electric. Clara watched him through half-lidded eyes, studying the way he moved, how quiet he was, how his presence somehow filled the room without ever demanding space. It unnerved her, that calm strength. She'd known men who shouted orders, who tried to break her will, but never one who simply looked at her as if he saw through every wall she'd built. When he spoke again, it was soft but certain. "You tore a ligament," he said. "You're lucky it's not broken," she scoffed, tossing her braid over her shoulder. "I've ridden worse than this before." His lips curved into the faintest smile. "I'm sure you have. But you're not riding anywhere tonight." She started to protest, but he held up a hand. "Just lay back, let me handle it." The words hung in the air, quiet yet commanding, and though her pride told her to argue, something in his tone, something steady, protective, almost tender, made her still. She leaned back reluctantly, eyes closing as he wrapped her leg, his hands firm but careful. For the first time in years, she felt her guard slip just a little. Outside, the storm broke, rain hammering against the windows, thunder rolling through the valley like cannon fire. Inside, the doctor's lamp glowed golden against the dark wood, casting their shadows long and close. For a while, there was only the sound of the rain and his voice, giving quiet instructions. She half listened to. He asked her what she'd been doing out so late, and she shrugged, saying she didn't take kindly to being told what to do, that she had a ranch to run and no man to tell her otherwise. He nodded thoughtfully, not judging, just listening, which somehow made her talk more. About her father's ranch, about the Mustangs she broke, about the loneliness that sometimes sat heavy on her chest when the nights grew cold. Elias didn't interrupt. He just worked and listened. And when he finally met her eyes again, she felt something shift deep inside, something she couldn't name. By the time the rain eased, her leg was bandaged and propped on a pillow. Elias poured her a small glass of whiskey and handed it over. "For the pain," he said with a faint smile. She took it, their fingers brushing, and it was ridiculous how such a small touch sent a spark through her like lightning on dry prairie. She looked away quickly, muttering thanks. He went to stoke,